I am a difference maker. Imagine all the people. I am a difference maker.
Hi, fellow difference makers, wherever you may be today in the world, would you love to million-dollarize your business, your idea, your concept? We'd love to help you do that. So we're going to chat, picking up on our last session, we're going to chat about some of the projects that we were involved in, have been involved in, and give you some, hopefully some inspiration, some ideas, some thoughts, and some encouragement to come and get involved. So Trevor, you've done a couple of things in your life. Maybe you'd like to just pick up on one or two of those ideas, and let's chat about how they just exploded.
Yeah, well, you know what? I was fortunate at a young age not to want to be an employee of any kind. In fact, I would have been fired immediately if anyone turned around to me and said, "You will do things this way." I just couldn't listen to them. So very much an entrepreneurial approach. But the moment you become an entrepreneur, you've got to actually deliver. So very soon after being involved in the pharmaceutical industry, I got out of there and was given a slice of an education operation to get me out of my coastal paddle surfing in the waves up to Johannesburg.
Trevor, I just want to interrupt you briefly there, and people might sort of battle to grapple with that concept that you just mentioned there. You know, you were in a pharmaceutical industry, and suddenly you had given a slice of an education enterprise. What actually precipitated that that exercise? Because people don't normally just hand you slices of things. So
yeah, the problem with being at our age, Ivan, is that you tend to skip over a couple of years as part of the steps. They go so quickly. But okay, I will get into that. So I was 26, sitting on a beach. Met my wife. I tell the story of a whole long line of boys were trying to meet my wife as well. And she said, "Listen, you better settle down." And playing rugby, I met with a guy who was a local provincial manager of a pharmaceutical company. He knew me as a rugby player and a water polo player, and he said, "Hey, come along and have a look at what you're about. Do you know anything about drugs?" And I didn't want to tell him what I knew about it from my days in Durban, but he then turned around and said, "Well, look, I'm looking for an agent. Get involved with us." It then turned out, you see, now you're going to get me into long stories, and I've got to try and make them short. It then turned out very quickly that he was actually looking to improve himself as well. He wanted to go from a local manager to a national manager. And I happened to be playing rugby with a guy who was in a pharmaceutical company, Smith & Nephew, who was looking for a national manager. So I introduced my manager to my rugby playing mate, who was a scrum half of mine. And so my manager ended up taking a position with Smith & Nephew, and it became a very big position. And that left something for myself. Long story short, I took over his position at a later stage. 18 months later, we discovered as a team that we were doing magnificent things. We broke all sales records for this company. It was a company called Squid Laboratories at the time. It was absolutely fantastic. And while I was doing that, I thought, no, well, where am I going to invest all this money? And I wanted to learn more about the stock exchange. Now, back in those days, no one really knew too much about the stock exchange. So I found someone that was starting to put together a stock exchange education environment. Cut a long story short, they invited me up to Johannesburg and said, "Hey, this is what our course looks like." I had a look at their course and I said, "Man, you guys, how many of these things are you selling?" They said, "About 20 a month." And I said, "Man, I'll I'll take this thing back down to Durban and we'll double it, because I had all the doctors and all that. I knew what I could do. And they said, no one in Durban wants to invest in shares. And there I was from Durban wanting to invest in shares. What did they know? And so they said, well, off you go with it. If you can double our sales, we'll actually give you the rights to the whole of the province. And I did. Within 2 weeks, I doubled their national sales. I doubled there. They gave me the rights. So I then had franchise rights. And then I had to learn something about what is franchising. Hey, Ivan, this is going to be a long story now, because you're taking me down the route of things. I'd now forgotten how I ended up on the executive of the Franchise Association, all that. So I better stop. And you can remind me, we'll come in at another session on this.
No, absolutely, and I think that's fantastic. And I really hope if you're watching or listening to this, you're picking up some real gems, some real nuggets out of the story, you know. And for me, some of those things that you just think about, it's taking action, it's taking responsibility, it's making things happen. It's not sitting back and waiting for things to happen. And that's really what we're all about here. Is you know, just take a gap, take an advantage, you know, take the advantage you can that's been presented for you. Go and find that opportunity, then make something happen out of it. And I think that's really what that story actually, you know, sort of does for me in a nutshell. It wasn't about sitting back and waiting for things to land in your lap. It was action. It was going out and just doing it. You know, being fearless. You know, if it fails, it fails. If it succeeds, well, guess what? You know, and it can explode. So, you know, this is what Milliondollarizing is really based around and is all about. So, you know, if you'd love to hear more of these stories, get into some more detail, get into some more inspiration, some more ideas, well, join us soon on one of these sessions. And yeah, please put your thoughts in the comments below. You know, give us some feedback, and let's see if we can inspire you, and perhaps you can inspire us. We'd love that too. So please join us soon. We'll chat soon on that. Pick up that topic in our next session as well. So hope to see you soon. Cheers, mate.
What the world needs now.
I am a difference maker.
Imagine all the people.
I am a difference maker.